Today I'm going to show you how to create a direct booking website on WordPress quicker than you can eat lunch. Now this is going to be a very simple direct booking website, and we're creating it on WordPress because WordPress has the most functionality and it's the hardest to learn. And I always kind of say start on WordPress because then every other website builder after this is super easy. All right, let's dive in. So the first thing you want to do is go to wordpress.com/start. And then since you're creating a site or a website for yourself, then it's going to ask you what are your goals for your site, promote my business, continue. And then if you have a domain you already own, click use a domain I own, or if you're shopping for a new one, you can search it here and then you can just purchase your domain within WordPress. Since most of you probably already have a domain you own, click this. And then here I'll enter in my domain. And then it's going to ask, do you want to connect your domain or transfer your domain? Since we're just starting out, let's just connect it for now. So click select. And then here it's going to ask us to choose our flavor of WordPress. By default, it's going to ask if you want to pay yearly. I like to pay monthly, so I'm just going to go ahead and click that. And then you'll want to get the business one. And then here you'll want to enter in all your payment information. Okay, great. Now you have an option to design the site from scratch or choose a theme. Since we want to make this pretty easy and be able to build this website quicker than we can eat lunch, I'm going to just go ahead and choose a theme. Okay, now WordPress will give you a bunch of themes to choose from. You can choose whatever theme you want. However, I would recommend choosing a theme that looks like your competitors or companies you want to be like. Short-term rentals, vacation rentals, Airbnbs, all those websites kind of have a very similar style. So you'll want to maintain that style so when somebody comes to your website, you don't confuse them as to what you do. So I'm going to go ahead and choose Heaver. Scrolling through this theme, it looks good. I mean, it's simple, looks great. It's very photo heavy, and its default caption is easy traveling, which tells me that this is a template for travel companies. So before you go any further, you want to pick your colors. You can always change these later, and so that's exactly what I'm going to do. And then fonts, if you really want to change fonts, go ahead and change those fonts. But I'm just going to continue. Okay, great. Now we're going to get prompted with a couple of questions. Here I just go skip for now and just dive right into building the site. But before we do that, I'm just going to give you an overview of all these tabs within WordPress because it can get complicated, but I really only use a couple of them for a direct booking website. Earlier I mentioned that you'll want to get your domain set up so when people type in yourbusiness.com, they'll come to your website. So you'll just want to do that here, so in domains. So this is where you configure everything domain-wise. By default, WordPress is going to give you yourdomain.wordpress.com as like a test domain or a staging site domain, which is fine for now, which is fine until actually you launch. And then posts are for blogs or for micro content, so not like your main content, but like blogs or about your team or just very small knit stuff. Media is your media library, so any photo you upload, that's where your photos are going to be. Pages is the one you'll use the most. Comments are comments on your blog posts. You can actually disable them if you don't want to get comments. Feedback are by default are your form responses, so any form you put on your website. Appearance is how you edit the theme that you just chose, and plugin is really what makes WordPress great because you can bring in other tools to make your website perfect. And just to get started, that's really all you need to know about WordPress. So now we're going to go into pages. And we're going to go to our home page. Okay, now that we're on our home page, we want to configure a couple of things before we get started. So first we want to go to styles, and then we'll want to go to colors. So here's where you change any theme colors that you want. So if WordPress default colors are not what your company colors are, here's where you change that. And just reference these colors with this template to kind of figure out, okay, if I were to change the yellow, all my buttons are going to change. Or if I were to change the white, all my whites are going to change. So kind of just mix and match and just figure out where all the colors are going to change and then input your custom colors as you please. So the first thing we're going to do to create a direct booking website is to add a headline. And this headline needs to pass the grunt test. So you don't want to write anything like a picturesque stay or something super broad. Rather, we want to write something like a wooded stay near mountain bike trails. Because there it's a little bit more specific, and when somebody from your ideal audience comes to your website, they'll know that your property is the place they've been looking for, and it'll make booking a lot easier for them to do. And then here, this is called your subheading. This just adds a little more context to this heading. So I'm going to say, enjoy a ground right off world class mountain biking trails. And then I'm going to say stay in a cabin or tent with your friends. Okay, cool. And then obviously here we want to do book now. Okay, cool. And then here I want to change this image because, well, my property is in northern Wisconsin, and this very clearly is not northern Wisconsin. So I'm going to open up my media library. So you can either select files from your desktop, or you can just drag and drop. Since I'm running on multiple screens, drag and drop is way easier for me. And that's what I'm going to do. Okay, great. So you want this image to really hound this saying and really expand on what your stay is. Let website visitors get an inside look as to where they might stay or where they might book their vacation. So one thing I don't like is how this text is black because it almost hides within the picture. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of this styles setting. And actually I'm going to save this. Then I'm going to go back to settings. And then since I'm within my cover block, when I click on this text, it'll change to white. And I'm going to do this the same here. So now I'm in my paragraph block. Change that. And then I'll even show you this. So since now I'm in my button block, I'll change that. Or I'll change it to, I'll change it to pink. So my text is now pink, and then my button's orange. That looks ugly, so I'll just, there. Okay, cool. And then here, so our template gives us some photos. I'm actually just going to go ahead and get rid of all this stuff I don't want. We will use reviews later, so I'll keep them. Our blog we won't use. And then, sure, we can use one final call to action. So now that we have our header complete, I want to add some extra context to my website to allow people to learn more about my property using the ARB formula. And A is attention, R is reason or relevance, and B is benefit. I've always used the ARB formula when writing websites because it's super easy for someone to read and it's super easy for me to write. So I'm just going to go into blocks, patterns, and then I'm going to, here's all of them, all of the theme patterns that you can choose from. But I'm going to narrow it down to about, because all I really need is a paragraph to expand on my property. I could do one with an image, which I might actually do. I like this one. So it's an image on the left and some context on the right. So I'm just going to drop it, drag and drop. Okay, sweet, exit out of that. Okay, great. So I'm going to, in the headline, I'm going to go, why my business. And you can just put like, why your campground or your property. And I'm going to go into ChatGPT. I'm going to ask ChatGPT to write the content for me. So I wrote, hey chat, I want to write some extra content for my northern Wisconsin campground using the ARB formula. Okay, sweet. Submit it. And obviously be as specific and give chat as much context as you can about your property so it can write more specific content to you. But for this example, since I'm using a very broad campground example, I'm just going to copy what chat gave me, paste it here. Copy the chat calls it relevance. So let's just add some extra context, and then here I'm going to add another image that features a specific aspect of my property. So I'm going to choose, let's say I have cabins on my property. I'm just going to drag and drop this image, and it pops up looking pretty nice. Okay, great. Now that I have some extra context about my company, why it's so amazing, here you can see it expands like our modern amenities include clean restrooms, hot showers, convenient campsites. And assuming that's true, I'm going to keep it in. And then if I really want to, I can kind of space it out so it's super easy for someone to read. And then if I really want to, I can bold that so it kind of stands out to a reader. Because more than likely, if they're coming to a wooded stay near mountain bike trails, they definitely care about the scenic trails. They could go fishing, I guess. Some of this stuff I would take out because I really want to go after the people who are here for mountain biking. Regardless, I want to change this button again to book now. Okay, awesome. And then for the reviews, there are two ways you can do this. One option is just use a WordPress template that it has. So if you go back to our patterns module, go down to testimonials, you'll see a bunch of just like templates that it gives you. You can pick whichever one you want. Or you could use a tool called ElfSite and just have ElfSite bring in reviews from Airbnb, VRBO, Google onto your website in real time. This is super easy to use. You just sign up and then you copy a code that they give you and then paste into WordPress using HTML. If you have any questions about this, just go in the comments below and just mention something about it, and I could walk you through on how to use ElfSite. But for the time being, I'm just going to use WordPress's default review template. I'm even just going to keep what people say about us, and I'll just keep these reviews here for the sake of time. But let's just imagine somebody's just like, the campground was sweet. And you can just keep it there. I recommend putting as many reviews on the website as you possibly can. Because people just want to see that other people have done business with you and have had a good experience. The more the merrier. And one final thing you'll want to do is add your listings. Or if you only have one listing, your listing. So the next thing you want to do is actually add your listing. Or if you have multiple listings, your listings. And so what I'm going to do is go back into the WordPress patterns. I'm going to do this a very simple way. There are a lot more complicated ways you could do this. But if you're just getting your first direct booking website up, this is definitely the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to go to services, and then you can pick any of these modules, really. I'm going to say I have two options, campgrounds and cabins. So I'll come here, drop this. I'm actually going to move this up because I want my bookings to be above the reviews and not super far down the page. So I'm going to exit out, come here. So the first thing I want to do is replace the image. So click replace, open media library. And then once it's uploaded, click select. Sweet. So then I'll just change the heading to campsite. And then since the WordPress template by default has a price there, I'll keep it. So I'll say $35 a night. And then here will be my cabin option. So cabin, and I'll say this is $150 a night. So I'm going to change the image here. And we'll use this cabin as my cabin. Okay, sweet. So the only other thing I want to do here is add a little extra context to each option. So I'm going to say secluded campgrounds, campsites, minutes off the trails, and then I'll want to hit enter / button. I'm going to do book now. This is an important step, so I'm going to do it again. Enter, add a little extra context. So we'll say secluded cabins. I'm actually going to say secluded drive in cabins, minutes off the trails with, I'm going to say 5-star luxury. Boom. All right. / button. Book now. So before we do anything else, we have a beautiful cover image with a very specific headline that captures somebody's attention, some extra context so they can learn just a little bit more about what this headline means and why or why not it's for them, and a book now button. And then you have a little extra context as to why somebody should book with you or why you have the most amazing stay within the area. along with an image so people can get more insight as to what your property looks like with a Book Now button. And then we have your actual options, or if you only have one property, obviously your option. We have campsite, cabin, the rates, a little extra context. Yours should be longer than mine, and then Book Now buttons. And then here we have our reviews. You can either use Elf site or just paste them in yourself. And you can add more reviews by going into WordPress's patterns and finding a template with more reviews. And then we have one last call to action, Book Now. So how I'm going to make this work is I'm just going to have these buttons link out to, in my case it's Logify, but maybe you're using a different platform. I'm just going to have these link out to Logify. I see this very commonly within the short-term rental space. People have a beautiful website, and since Logify is so good at just building a booking pathway, I'm just going to book it out to them. So I'm just going to go ahead, copy my Logify link to each site, and just have it link. So now that I have my link, I'm going to come down, hover over the button, I clicked it, click the link button, paste. And let's say I went back and got the link for the cabin, do the same thing, link, paste. Great. Okay. Website's almost done. So now all we want to do is adjust. This is called your footer. And this is if people want to email you or call you, or you have an opportunity to give them directions to your place or add your address, whatever you want to do. The footer is global throughout your entire site. And what that pretty much means is anywhere anybody goes on your website, this footer will be here. So if you want to have very standard call to actions, or like your phone number in case anybody needs to reach you, you can put that all here. You can also just go to your competitors' websites or websites you want to be like, look at their footer, and you can add the information that they have. So let's say I add my email, phone number, address. That's probably plenty. And then I'm going to scroll up to the header, which is the same thing but just at the top. And this is typically where you put your menu. So if you have an about page, people can go and learn more about you. In this case, in our template, we have social media. So if you lean into social media, people can click these and learn more about you. For the sake of this video, I'm actually just going to keep the headline the way that it is since I only have one site. And so my site title is Campground, I guess. And then for each social media, you can just click on the social media icon and you can link your social media, your Instagram, Facebook URL. This looks pretty good. The only other thing I want to do is open up my sidebar menu, scroll down to my campsite header, and then click advanced, and then add an HTML anchor, and I'll show you what this does in a second. So I'm going to say this is Book Now. You can call it whatever you want. And then I'm going to scroll up to my Book Now button that is not under a listing. Hover over it, click the link. I'm going to go hashtag and paste that anchor I just created. I'm going to do the same thing here. Click the link, hashtag, save that. And then I'll come down here and do the same thing. So you can really do this two ways. If you use Logify like I do, you can have these buttons just linked to your Logify homepage where a visitor will see all your listings anyways. Or these anchors make it really nice where, because people can stay on your website, they'll see your entire website, they'll learn more about your property. You put all the work into the website, so you might as well have somebody just stay on your website and enjoy it like you do. So I like to use anchors. If you want to just have these buttons link out to Logify's homepage, that's your choice, whatever you want to do. So now that I like how this looks, all the content looks correct, all my reviews are amazing, I'm just going to go ahead, click save, click on the WordPress W, and then now that I'm back on my home dashboard, I'm going to go to launch my site, and the sucker's live.